Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have a video talking about the books I have multiple copies of. In my entire collection, I have, between nonfiction and fiction, I have just shy of 1,000 books. And I was going through cataloging them because I got a new bookshelf recently, and I thought it would be interesting to look at which books I have multiple copies of, and think about why I have those multiple copies. And for some reasons, it was because I liked the artwork on one version, but I had originally gotten another. Another reason I sometimes get multiple copies is because I just love the books that much that I feel the need. Or there's been a handful of times that I forgot I had a copy of the book. That does not happen as often as you would think, but it happened a few times. And then there were some other reasons, and so I thought I would go into some of them here. And I will not be, for the purposes of this video, talking about my Star Wars or Star Trek books. I'm exclusively limiting this to fantasy and to sci-fi. This just general fantasy sci-fi. This will make it an easier list. I might do one for Star Wars and Star Trek in another video, but for right now, I'm just doing fantasy sci-fi. So the first one is actually a whole series that I have two sets of really, and that is the Rune Lords series. You have book one, The Rune Lords, which is one of my favorite fantasy novels of all time. I originally got it in paperback, but I really wanted to have a hardcover version. Unfortunately, my hardcover version was torn down here, but that's okay. And then you have the second book, Brotherhood of the Wolf, which I still want to get another hardcover of because this isn't the full hardcover version. It's like the small hardcover for some reason. I don't know why publishers do that. Come on, what's up with you guys? But I have two of that. And then I have Wizardborn, the hardcover and paperback. And if you think that this is a little glossy, it's because I have the protector on it. On this version. So Wizardborn, which is a terrific cover. Daryl K. Sweet. All of these are Daryl K. Sweet covers. And then this is where it gets weird. I have 3 copies of Lair of Bones, which is the 4th book, and I almost had 4 copies. So the first copy I had was the small hardcover. And I got the small hardcover because that's the only one I could find in the bookstore, and I wanted to read the books, so I read the book. But then I found the mass market paperback version, and since I was collecting the mass market paperbacks, I was like, I'll get that. And so I got the mass market paperback, and then I found the full-sized hardcover, which was in actually pretty good condition, and I was like, well, darn, I bet I need to get the full-size version because I want to have the full-size version. Because the Rune Lords is honestly one of, if not my favorite fantasy series, and I want to have the best collection of it that I can. And so that's why I'm keep doing that. I don't do this for many. Most of my fantasy series I have 1 copy and that's it. And same with sci-fi and other books, but occasionally I get, multiple. Then you have Sons of the Oak, which is a hardcover and mass market. Again, this is a small hardcover, so And then the 6th book is Worldbinder, which I have the hardcover, which you can't necessarily tell as well because I have the protective covering on it, but this is a beat-up version of this hardcover. And then I have the mass market. I do not have books 7 and 8 in mass market because I cannot find them in mass market. I've only found them in hardcover. But I will eventually get them. So the Rune Lords is a series very near and dear to my heart, and so I have the first 6 books in that series in 2 versions, the hardcover and paperback. And for one of the books, I have it in hardcover, paperback. So that's the reason I had that. That's one of those series that I just love it so much that I wanted to have multiple copies of. The next one is an example of I bought the series in one version, but then there was a much better cover art version. And so that's going to be A Song of Ice and Fire series. I read it with this version, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, and Storm of Swords, which these covers are fine. They're okay. They're I guess you could say they're iconic in the design, so at least they work in that sense that like you see this series, you instantly recognize what series it's from. Not just because the big Game of Thrones banner on there, but because of the way it's the lettering and stuff. But I went to the local bookstore a few months ago and found these gorgeous editions of the first 3 books. A Game of Thrones, you have A Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords. Now, I'm a little bit miffed that the artwork only takes up that tiny space. I wish it had taken up the whole cover for each of these, because it would have been magnificent. But still, this is still better cover art than the original, or than the ones I had before. Let me know which one you like more. I like this one way more. And so I got these. They don't have these style covers for books 4 and 5, for A Feast for Crows, and for A Dance with Dragons. So I don't have those books in the second version. I only have them in the original version. And to be honest, I don't love those books as much either, so it doesn't really matter as much. Next, I have a book that is the exact same cover art. It's a sci-fi book. I have 2 copies of it, and that is The Daba Race Snake Launcher by Joel Presby. I have the big trade paperback version, and then the mass market version came out recently. And the big trade version I actually got signed by Miss Presby when I went to DragonCon this year. It was really nice. And her mass market just came out like a couple weeks ago as I'm recording this. And I'm a friend of Miss Presby, and I wanted to support her, so I got a second copy of the book. It is the exact same cover design. This one has a quote from David Weber on it, but it's the same cover design. And so that's really the only reason I got it, is to support my friend, Miss Presby. But I enjoyed the book. It wasn't a favorite, but I enjoyed it. Next is going to be a sci-fi series from one of my favorite authors, Kevin Anderson, and that is his Saga of the Seven Sons. This was a series that I purchased I purchased all 7 books from him all at once in this version, which is just has different planets or different space related pictures on them. Very boring covers. Like I do not like these covers at all. But the reason I have them, and I have the last couple books in the series as well, is because he was selling them for really cheap on his website, and they were signed copies, all of them. And so I figured, might as well get them so I could read the books. And I enjoyed the series. It's a great series. But then I started seeing the original covers for the series. And this is only for the first 4 books, because for some reason, the publisher just shifted the way they did the covers for books 5, 6, and 7, which is awful. I mean, just awful that they would do this. But I have book 1, which is Hidden Empire, which I think that is just such a much better cover than this. Which one do you think is better? And then I have book 2, A Forest of Stars, this cover. Again, so much better than the other. And then I have book 3, Horizon Storms. And then book 4 I couldn't find in mass market, so I found it in hardcover, and that is Scattered Suns. And then you have the other one I have. Again, let me know, do you ever like the version that I don't like? Maybe because of consistency. That'd be interesting. But that one is a series that I bought because I just don't like the original covers as much. I have one more Kevin Anderson series, and that is the Dune House series. So when I was at DragonCon a year and a half ago, I had a bunch of Kevin Anderson books I wanted signed, but I also wanted to get something new. And I had just recently gotten into the Dune stuff, and I was trying to get into more Dune books, and so I quickly went down and bought 3 books from his his stand, which were the Dune House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and House Carino. And I bought them. He signed them. Very nice of him. And I read these versions of the books. These are massive trade paperback versions. But I don't like the cover. Like what kind of cover art is this? What kind of cover design is this? Who approved this? This is just This is just maddening. And so I went to my local bookstore and found all 3 mass markets with the original cover art. And so you have Dune House of Treaties, this cover art, which actually has a nice wraparound on the back. But then you have House Harkonnen, and you have House Carino. And again, they only put the little artwork, but even that little bit of artwork is better than no artwork. Again, which one do you think is better, this version or this version? I mean, that's just so maddening that they do that. Anyway, so I got these for really cheap, and I really like this cover art. Sadly, this version is not signed by Kevin, but I will get it signed one day if I can. And so that is that. Next, I have The Lord of the Rings, which I have 3 versions of The Lord of the Rings. If I can grab them. Oh, gosh. I have the mass market paperback versions, which I just have the movie version because that's all I could find, and I read the book that way. And then I have this gorgeous edition of The Two Towers, and this gorgeous edition of The Return of the King. I love the cover art for this. It's also on the back as well, but I love the cover art for Return of the King. And I intend to find the matching paperback one day to complete the set. But for right now, that's my mass market version. And then a long time ago, I purchased, back before I was a big reader, I purchased The Lord of the Rings in this version. And it was just because, it was cheap, it was on sale, and I thought, you know what, I'll get it and I'll be able to read it. This is a chunker, it's harder to read, and so I actually find myself reading the mass markets because it's easier to read for me, and then this is just a nice display one. But again, there's not much artwork here, it's more that kind of leatherish, it's supposed to be prestigious, less for artwork. I still haven't found an artwork that I absolutely love. And then this third version of Lord of the Rings that I own is purely because we were going through my grandparents' house several years ago when my grandparents moved out and moved down to live with my aunt and uncle. And so they were just getting rid of everything, and they said, take whatever books you want. And my grandparents don't care about fantasy, but for some reason, in their house, they had this version of Lord of the Rings, the 1-volume edition, with the movie cover and stuff like that, with the movie characters on the top back here. And I was like, no one else is taking it, and I'm going to take this. So I have this book in my collection. I have no idea why I have this book in my collection. But that I have it. Next, I'm going to quickly touch on a series I have not read, but do own, and that is the Assassin's Apprentice series. So I bought the first book and read it. It was actually, I think, the first book review I did on the channel, Assassin's Apprentice, and it was a fine book. And I had already purchased Royal Assassin, the second book, but I don't love those covers. And I found the original Michael Whelan painting for Assassin's Apprentice, and so I got that one. And then you have Royal Assassin, also Michael Whelan. And then the third book is not Michael Whelan, but it's still really good. Let me see who the third one is. I believe it's one of the Yules. Yeah, it's Stephen Yule that did Assassin's Quest. And so I got that one. So that is that. My final collection is the one that means the most, is the one that to me, it means the most to me in my collection. And that is my collection of the Sword of Shannara. I have 3 copies of the Sword of Shannara, and I love all 3. This is a rare example where I love all 3 versions of something that I own. So you have, the first one I found in bookstores was this version of the Sword of Shannara, which has been read many times and is very, very falling apart. And it has that cover art that looks kind of the blend between photorealistic and also painting, and it wraps around to the back here. And it is, I love this painting, the sense of scope, the sense of awe, the sense of wonder, the sense of possibility that this cover has, I just absolutely love, and I love the book as well. And then I found the original cover art which has the mass market with the original cover art by the brothers Hildebrandt. And I love this cover art too. I think it is. This is much more cheesy. This almost looks like their claymation, even though it is a painting. But I love it anyway. I think that this also gets that sense of epic fantasy, the quest, the 70s feel. I really like that too. But then the third version I have is the annotated Sword of Shannara, which is just a big sword, which ordinarily wouldn't do that much. But because it's literally titled The Sword of Shannara, it fits. But what I really like about this edition is that not only is it annotated, so it has all those annotations, but it also has the inside. It has the cover art, or the artwork that they made for the series, which should have just been cover art. I mean, that would have just been gorgeous cover art. But for some reason they decided not to. But I like this hardcover version, 35th anniversary edition. So that is my collection of books that I have, fantasy sci-fi books, where I own multiple copies of them. It's not a huge part of my collection. All told, I probably have like 20, 25 duplicates out of 900 total books. But those are my duplicates. If you own multiple copies of a book or multiple editions or whatever, let me know those thoughts in the comments section. Let me know which versions you like and don't like. Are there any of the ones that I love that you're like, I don't love that? Or any of the ones that I didn't particularly enjoy and you just think that is, you love that other version, that alternate version? Let me know all those thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.